I think let's start our session. Okay, so first of all, good afternoon to everyone out there. Okay, so I'm glad that you guys are joining this sharing session today. So I hope all of you are doing okay and your research is progressing well. So let me briefly introduce myself. I'm one of the senior lecturer in HIPS UTM. So my name is Theresa. My area of expertise is more towards intellectual capital and organization learning, and also SME. Okay, I am a quantitative. I'm more in towards quantitative studies. Okay, so this talk is we will geared towards quantitative studies on how to build a good hypothesis. Okay, so on a personal note, actually, I am an introvert. Okay, so I like to spend most of my days researching and writing papers. So Dr. Ma has actually nominated me to have a sharing session with all the postgraduate students. So I said, hey, why not? Let us share about something which I am passionate about, which is writing. Okay, so yeah, let me share the slides. Okay, can you guys, okay, I start sharing. Okay, so the topic for today would be how to build and write a good hypothesis. So at the end of the day, what I'll be sharing with you guys would be what is the definition, or why do we need a hypothesis, or what is a hypothesis? Okay, how do we develop a hypothesis? Because the hypothesis that we develop, or how we write, or how we build a hypothesis is a bit different for direct relationship, or maybe when you are actually proposing a moderator and also mediators. So this one we will go through one by one. Okay, I'll share with you how to structure, what to write in your hypothesis. Hopefully, it will help you guys to start writing. Okay, and also I'll share with you some examples of a well-written hypothesis. Okay, so some word of encouragement for you guys outside doing your research. Okay, success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. So I know sometimes when you're doing research, things can get a little bit I call as it can get a little bit challenging sometimes, but hang on there. Okay, if you're tired, just rest a while and then continue your research. Okay, and by the time you know it, or without you realizing, you already have reached your viva. Okay, so hang on there. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. So a brief introduction of the research process, a very brief. Okay. So first off, you will start with research question, what you want to find out. Then you try to find an underpinning theory, okay, to support, okay, and then you will generate your hypothesis, whereby which was derived from the underpinning theory and also past empirical studies. And lastly, with the next you go on to collect and analyze data, and then will be your discussion. So this is the roughly, okay, the record is linking. Okay, because I noticed that some students, they usually just come up with their conceptual framework without actually supporting their framework and the hypothesis with an underpinning theory. Okay, so let us look at number one. What is a hypothesis? Okay, it is a proposed relationship which you expect to find in your empirical data. Okay, in other words, which can be tested empirically. Okay, so it is often relational in nature, and you derive it from theories and also past empirical data to support the links and relationship that you try to propose. So I'd like to go more in depth, okay, on what is theory. So theory is a set of interrelated constructs, definitions, okay, specifying relationship among variables to explain and predict a phenomena. So you need to have theory to support because it will enhance the robustness and the rigor of your findings. So if you look into some of the research papers, you will see usually they will discuss the underpinning theory first before they move on to their the conceptual framework and also their hypothesis. Okay, so usually the commonly used theories, okay, where we can see from students' work is like resource-based view, okay, TPB, social agency theory, social capital, and so forth. So there are tons of theories outside that you need to find to support your conceptual framework. So I'm going to share with you one of the what I call as one of the resource hello, Chuck? That I find it is useful for students. Okay, so this is yeah, I'm going to share with you the page. Just hold on. Hmm. Okay, can you see this website? Theresa.organization. Okay, so this is one of the website that I find is very useful, okay, for students to search for which underpinning theory, okay, that they can use to support their conceptual framework. So for example, we have all these theories, okay, you can have a look later. Okay, so for example, I want to know more about resource-based view of the firm. Okay. So RBV, I think most of you are familiar with it. So you see, they give you some information. Okay, for example, the acronym can be RBV. Okay, or what are the alternate names? What is the suitable main dependent variable, competitive advantage, organization performance? Okay, what would be suitable as the IB, which is your independent variable, assets, capabilities, resources, and then they give you a short summary of the underpinning theory. Okay, so you give you an idea. They also give you some what I call as some may have diagrams. Okay, and who are the originating authors? So class, what I'm trying to say is that yeah, we cannot quote sources from Wikipedia, and this is from Wiki. But I know sometimes I would read here first to have a rough idea, okay, about what is the theory about, okay, and then from there I will track the key papers from here, and then I will read. So when I have a concise or maybe a rough idea what the theory is about, when I read all these papers, okay, from originating authors, it's much more easier for me to understand. So usually I would advise my students, okay, to go to this website, okay, have a look, okay, have a look at which theory, or maybe if they have no idea about which theory, you can just click one by one and see which one you want, which is suitable for your conceptual framework, okay. Okay. What is theory? Hold on, just let me go back. Okay. Okay. When there is a question, what is the difference between theory and your conceptual framework? Okay, theory is what we call as a set of interrelated construct. You are building your own framework, okay, but you need to be supported by a well-known theory, okay. So this is what the difference between your conceptual framework and also your underpinning. Sometimes theoretical framework we also call as underpinning theory. So to avoid confusion, usually I will ask my student to use only one term, which is underpinning theory. Okay, the underpinning theory like your RBB, okay, your social FPB, okay, your social agency. Okay. So yeah, these resources you can have a look at it, okay, to support your own framework that you are building. Okay, so this is we have seen just now, okay, with all the information. But again, this resource is just for you to refer. So when you do your citation, wiki, this word should not appear anywhere. Okay, you should mostly go for the try to find a paper which is written by the original author. This is just for you to refer to have a clear understanding, some idea about what the underpinning theory is about. Okay. Okay. So this is just now a snapshot of the website that I have shown you. Okay. Okay. So for example, this is the one this is, for example, this is the framework that you are proposing. Okay. Capabilities will lead to competitive advantage. Okay. If I propose this relationship, okay.
Doctor, please see your slide.
Sorry.
We can see your.
Just hold on. Okay, just hold on us. Slides. Okay, share. Okay. Can you guys see the slide? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you see, so you want to propose a relationship, okay? Higher organization capabilities will lead to competitive advantage. And then the examiner asks, based on what? Okay, how supported by what? Because the relationship that you propose must be supported. Okay, so you say it's supported by the theory of RBV. Okay, according to the underpinning theory of RBV. Okay, if you have unique resources, it will give you competitive advantage. So you're using your underpinning theory to support your relationship. Okay. So when you're building a hypothesis, you must also tell the examiners the direction. Direction means is it a positive impact or negative impact? Okay. Okay. So when this positive or negative impact, not only you need to be supported by underpinning theories, it must also be supported by past empirical studies. Okay, that means current studies that shows that, there is a relationship, there's a positive relation. After I collect data, I found that, yes, organizations that have high organization capabilities, they have a positive impact on their competitive advantage. Okay, so once again, all the relationship that you propose in your conceptual framework, okay, must be supported by underpinning theory, okay, and also empirical, past empirical studies. Okay, so may I move on? Am I going too fast? Okay. So what I'm trying to show you is the foundation of your hypothesis is the past theory or theory. Sometimes you may use more than one underpinning theory to link your framework that you propose. Okay, so hypothesis, the hypothesis that you propose, okay, must be backed by theories and also past empirical studies. Okay, so number one, we learn about what is hypothesis. Hypothesis is your proposed relationship, and when you propose a relationship, okay, which can be empirically tested, it must be backed or it must be derived from theories, underpinning theory or theories, and also past empirical studies. Okay, so now we move on to the second one, which is how do you develop hypothesis? Okay, method in arguing or building your case or hypothesis, it is different based on the type of relationship. When you try to convince the examiner, okay, that this is a direct relationship, the way you write would be different. When you want to convince your examiner, okay, or your reader, okay, that this is the relation, that is the variable is a moderator, okay, the way you write would be different. Same goes if you are actually proposing a mediator, okay, the way you write it would be different. So we'll go through one by one. Okay, so we go through, we go on with the first one. Okay, so the first one is developing hypothesis for direct relationship, linear. Okay, so here we try to propose a relationship that can be positive, where both variables increase or decrease together. For example, higher salary would lead to higher job satisfaction. See, both are increasing together, okay? Or negative, whereby one's go up, the other one will come down. So given an example is there is a negative effect between organization politics and innovation. So in other words, the more organization politics is happening in organization, the lower innovation will be, okay? So direct relationship, remember, there are two types, positive and negative. Okay, so this is an example of a positive relationship. Perhaps I give you guys around 2 to 3 minutes to go through the can you guys see the slides? To go through this paragraph. And then perhaps you'll try to figure out what is the difference between the sentences which I highlight in yellow and the sentences that I highlight in green and also in blue. Okay.
And Doctor, can I ask a question?
Sure.
The original theory, for example, we take TAM, Technology Acceptance Model, but some researchers, they derive more models, more theories from that. It's like their own. So how do we only take the first one or do we take the latest one? Because there's some like iteration, so it's evolving. So the theory, how do we pinning theory, the first one or like the latest one that is developed?
Okay. For me, right, mine is dynamic capability. Okay, dynamic capability, it was actually derived from RBV. From RBV involves, right, from RBV, it evolves into dynamic capability. So how I write is that I will explain about RBV and then I go straight to dynamic capability. Because you see, dynamic capability, RBV, it actually evolves to KBV, knowledge-based view also. Okay, and then it evolves to dynamic capability. So what I do is that I will write about the original theory first, and then I will move on to the theory that I'm using, dynamic, straight away. So it gives an idea to the examiner, okay, the flow. But you don't have to write everything. Just the first, for me, I would just write the original and the recent one that I'm using.
Okay, thanks, Dr. And we have our reason action, and then we go to the. Thank you, Dr.
Okay.
No, we're not eating voice.
Oh, have you, okay, done? Okay, so this is example of how you what call as the structure. Okay, so you can see the one highlighted in yellow, okay, is actually where the author tried to give the definition and idea, okay, to the reader. Okay, social risk. Okay, so the one highlighted in yellow, you can see is a definition. Okay, so for the one in green color, highlighted in green, is actually whereby they try to explain the relationship between social risks and online purchasing behavior. Okay, and then followed by the past empirical researches, which is highlighted in blue. Okay, and then based on this, they develop a hypothesis that is a negative relationship between social risks and online purchase. Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so so you can see there are a few elements here: definition, explanation, how these two are related, and also the past research. Okay, and hence based on these three, they they develop the hypothesis. Okay, based on the discussion. Okay, H5 is developed. That is a negative relationship between social risk and online purchase intention. You need to do all this. You need to explain this only you and derive your hypothesis. Okay, so this is the first example. Okay, second example of a negative relationship. Okay, for this, right, you can see that this author actually use explanation only, okay, to build the hypothesis. So either way it's you can do it. Okay, so there are two styles of writing. Either you follow this one, you break it down, definition, explanation, okay, past empirical studies. Okay, so when in structure, I think it is much more easier for you to write. Okay, so this is the second one. Maybe I give you around a minute to go through. Okay, so you can see the second one straight away. They explain or try to describe why these two are how these two are related. Okay, so when they explain how, of course, you need to give some support. Okay, from past studies, and then you hypothesize that information overload has a negative impact on job satisfaction. Okay, so so now we move on to okay, so now we move on to a positive relationship. Okay, so okay, so okay, now you see there's one new thing here. Okay, why is it being underlined? Okay, so you see for postdoctoral study, especially PhD, you need to come up with a what we call as theoretical contribution. That means you are introducing a new variable. Okay, so the one which is highlighted, which I underline, is one of the way that you can use to write. Okay, that this try to give an idea to your examiner or the reader that you are doing something, you are introducing something new. Okay, so the main criticism for theory of planned behavior is that it does not take into consideration moral influences that may affect the behavior. Hence, that's why you actually introduce moral influences, okay, to actually to contribute to the TBB. Okay, so this is one example that you can use to see how you're gonna write. Okay, so as usual, you can see the yellow, the one in yellow. Okay, they are using this structure again, definition. Okay, okay, and then we have yellow is definition. Okay, green is explanation. Okay, and then the blue one, past empirical studies and what are their results, and also this one. Okay, the difference. Okay, your studies, what is the difference of your what are the verbal that you're trying to actually try to introduce the difference between your study and the rest. Because remember again, as I mentioned, PhD, you I just especially PhD, you have to come up with a what we call as theoretical contribution. You're introducing a new variable into the theory. Okay. Okay, this one we've gone through. Okay, so may I move on? We have direct relationship. We look into negative and also positive relationships and also the examples. Okay, so now we move on to moderators. Okay.
Doctor, I have one question if you don't mind.
Sorry, Tala, right? Can you please repeat?
I have one question. Now, when we talk about hypothesis,
Yeah.
and we need to rely to the theoretical framework, and at the same time, we need to have support from literature review, from empirical study that support these two type of relationship. Some or relationship or causal relationship, whatever. So my question, so if I find in the literature review there is empirical study, investigate two type of variables. So what's the new things that I will introduce to the body of knowledge?
Sorry, Tala, actually. Okay, Tala, can you please leave your questions in the chat, then I will reply you later.
Okay.
Okay. Because not can't hear clearly. What is your question? Okay, maybe from there we will. I will try to answer you. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So now we move on to the second developing hypothesis, which is about moderators. Okay, so moderators, right, is a variable that can strengthen, weaken, and also may change the direction of the relationship between the variables. Okay, so usually we will how we write your hypothesis that we want to show the readers that there are inconsistent findings. When there is inconsistent findings, right, that means there is a variable, okay, that may actually affect the relationship between these two. Okay, so this is how we develop hypothesis for our moderator. Okay, so let's look at the first one, moderator. So perhaps I give you guys around 2 minutes again to have a look. What is the underpinning theory? I think I have forgotten, but you can actually look at the source I've given. This paper was taken from Chua, Marimoto, Ramaya and Nguyen 2007. Why do customer defect? You can actually try to search for it, and then you can look at the underpinning theory for this paper. Wow, I got background music. Okay, so for each of the papers, right, that I've shared with you guys here, I've actually provide you guys also the source where I get it from. So if you would like to check what underpinning theory is being used, okay, you all can just do a quick search for of this paper lah. Then inside, you may find, okay, the underpinning theory that they are using. Okay. Okay, so you see, when we are introducing moderator, we are trying to tell the readers that the existing relationship, okay, the existing relationship is not stable, inconsistent, okay. So hence we believe, okay, there is another variable that may actually affect the relationship between your IV and DV. This is your moderator. This is what I call as moderator. So this is how you see the one underlined here, okay, how this author bring it up. Okay, argued that customer satisfaction is not a surrogate for customer loyalty. That means customer satisfaction does not necessarily lead to customer loyalty. Okay, so because the authors find that other research has suggested several boundary conditions, okay, or several conditions which actually would affect the link between your customer satisfaction and customer loyalty. Okay, so hence you see they are the one highlighted in green is they try to explain with evidence. Okay, at the same time make it easy to understand to the readers. Okay, why they think that switching barriers is a moderator that would affect the relationship between what I call as customer satisfaction and customer loyalty. Okay, so whether you want to have the definition first, explanation, or okay, the difference or the uniqueness of your paper of the variable, okay, is up to you. Okay, the key here is that you need to actually arrange the 4 things, okay, maybe 3. Sometimes relationship is already, that is not what you try, that is not theoretical contribution, okay. You need to write it in such a way that there is a flow. Okay, so not necessarily you would like to start with definition. Sometimes you don't want to have a definition. It's up to you. As long as the most important thing that is a flow, makes it easier for the reader to understand and follow. Okay, so but anyway, I'm just trying to tell you that there are these 4 components that you can think of, okay, when you try to write your hypothesis. One is your definition. Okay, 2 is your explanation. 3 is your empirical record as evidence, DEE, and also P, if that is the variable that you try to, that is your theoretical contribution. We call it another D, the difference of your research and the rest. Okay. Okay, so for moderators, right, there are 2 ways of writing depending on your supervisor and also depending on the expectation of your examiner. Okay, so the first one, we can see the relationship between customer satisfaction and customer loyalty is moderated by switching barriers, such that the higher the switching barriers, the weaker the positive effect. Here, we are trying to test, okay, that when the switching barrier is high, okay, the weaker the effect between the customer satisfaction and customer loyalty. So if you use this way to write your hypothesis, you need to do another analysis whereby you need to show the slope. Okay, so this one I will not go into it because today we're not talking about moderators and mediators. We are talking about we are sharing more towards how to build your hypothesis, how to write. So if you are interested to know more about it you can actually refer to the paper given here. Okay. Okay, so this is the second way where you can write your moderator hypothesis for moderators. Okay. You see, they try to bring out that there is inconsistency between the relationship. Okay. However, in the empirical study by this guy, Theresa, it shows that innovation culture has a negative relationship with performance. Okay, although the evidence regarding the exact nature of this study is mixed. Okay, studies shows that the relationship between cultural attributes and high performance has not been consistent over time. Okay, so when you are saying that it's not being consistent over time, that means you believe that there is another variable that will affect the relationship between innovation culture and innovation performance. Okay, and that is how you come up. You can actually introduce your moderator in your hypothesis. Okay, so here you can see it is they give the explanation. Okay, on why they think that government support actually strengthen the relationship between innovation culture and innovation culture and innovation performance. Okay, so we have done with linear relationship, mediator, moderator, and now we move on to mediator. Okay, so before we go into it, I need to briefly describe what is a mediator. So mediator is intermediate, or sometimes you call it as a middleman, okay, in the causal sequence relating an independent variable to a dependent variable. Okay, so you can look at it as a process. You must go from X, M, and Y, okay? And is a time dimension. That's why time dimension means that you must from here, time 1, time 2, and time 3, okay? So that means when I have good human resources, okay, I give them training, okay, it would lead to better organization performance. You must follow step 1, step 2, step 3. It means you're trying to tell that is a process. So this is what we call as a mediator. So a lot of students, they are a bit confused between mediator and moderator. So moderator, you remember, is a variable that actually will affect, strengthen, weaken, or change the relationship between your IV and EV. Whereas mediator is something like a process. You have to go from step 1, step 2, and also okay. 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 When we I'm sorry, Farhan, I really can't hear you. Is it okay? Is it okay that you try to talk to the
Dr. Tess, I think
yes.
the host need to mute everybody. I think maybe sounds from the participant.
The host is Yani. Hold on.
Yeah, I think it's clear now.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay. Okay. So next is mediator. Okay. Mediator is there are two ways we look into. There are two ways we can actually approach the this mediator. In writing, developing a hypothesis for mediator. Okay. So it depends on whether you are using the segmentation approach or transmittal approach. So if you are using the segmental approach, you need to have 3 hypotheses. Okay. However, if you are using the transmittal approach, you just need to have one. You just need to have just on. You will only need one hypothesis. Okay, so I find a lot of students when they are doing their mediation analysis, they like to use this approach. But when they use this approach, right, the thing is that they will have a lot of mediated hypotheses. Okay, especially if your mediator you have few dimensions. Okay, for example, organization learning, you have 2 dimensions. And then you have one IV. So you'll find out that you will have lots of hypotheses. Some may be 80 or 90. So this is not advisable. So there's another approach that you can think of is using transmittal approach. And then you can find the support from the paper written by Rungtu Sanatam or 2014. I have also included another paper which is much more reader friendly, I would say easier for students to understand, which is by Memang Mumtaz, Ali, and Jun Hwacha, T. Ramaya, and so forth. Okay. Mediation analysis issues and recommendations, which y'all can refer before you start to actually develop your hypothesis. Okay. Okay, so let's look at example 1 mediation. Okay, so yeah, maybe perhaps I'll give you guys around like 1 to 2 minutes to quickly glance through the exam or the write-up of this mediation. Okay, so for mediation, right, there is one method that I would like to use is that especially if the mediator is your contribution, okay, whereby I would actually explain that there are a lot of studies showing that there is a relationship between your human resources and training. So assuming this is my mediation, this is the variable, okay, my contribution that I would like to highlight in my research, okay. So how I'll do is that how I'm gonna structure it is, okay, I will actually highlight, okay, a lot of researchers have done research, okay, and they found that it is human resources have a positive impact on training, okay, when they're doing and then they are actually when they are testing it as a direct relationship, okay. And then my next paragraph that I will also highlight that, and then there is also another group of people, okay, they shows that there is a direct relationship between training and organization performance, okay. But to the best knowledge of this study, okay, we still can't find people who actually look this mediator, this variable as a mediator. Hence, based on the Based. Oh, sorry, Yani, can you help to mute? Okay. Mm. Okay. So when I will try to highlight, many people have done studies between HR and training, okay, and they found that it's a positive relationship. And also many people have seen that, many researchers have found that there is a direct relationship between training and organization performance. But hence, that give me a reason to believe that training is actually a mediator. Okay, but you try to avoid using sentence like there is no study yet. Okay, maybe it's good that with the best knowledge of this research, okay, that there isn't, to the best knowledge, okay, there seems to be a limited research, okay, so that actually examine training as a mediator. Okay, so you can look at the one that I've highlighted just now. Okay. So hence, this belief that is a reason to believe that an organization learning capability may play a role as a mediator between intellectual capital and manufacturing competitive capabilities. Okay. Furthermore, as most of the research were geared towards innovation capability, this research attempts to probe deeper beyond innovation by examining the main manufacturing competitive capabilities. Here is that where I try to number one, highlight. Okay, I highlight. Okay, why I believe. Okay, what I call as organization learning capability is a mediator, and then I try to enhance. Let the examiner know further why this is why my research is different from the rest and what is my contribution, because most research are geared towards innovation. None of them, or maybe to the best, do not probe deeper, okay, by examining the rest of the main manufacturing competitive capabilities. Okay, you need to highlight, okay, what is the difference between your study and the one outside. Okay, okay, so this is another example. The mediating role of OCBE, okay. So here they try to in previous literature, research have argued that organization performance does not result directly from applying HR practices, but rather from the discretionary efforts of employees. So you see, they try to actually bring okay, but rather from the discretionary efforts. You see, they try to bring in, okay, why OCBE is actually a mediator. Okay, and you can see on the continuation, okay, the above mentioned studies support the mediating role of OCBE. However, when Pale et al. Tested mediation between strategic HRM and rather than green HRM. So here, the author tried to bring out what is the difference between his studies and the one that he found in the literature. Okay. Similarly, Ed and Spenek focused on the involvement capabilities of employees and did not include other HR practices. So this author includes other HR practices. Hence, that's why it is different from the one that they found in the literature. Okay, so you also need to highlight, okay, the uniqueness of your study. Okay, so next is if you have followed through all the examples, you can see there are these 4 components. Okay, you can start off with definition. Okay, then you explain why you think these two are related. okay, or why the variable is mediator or moderator, okay, and then you provide past empirical research, okay, and also if for especially for the variable that you try to introduce, okay, your theoretical contribution, okay, you need to highlight how is it different from the literature that is outside now, okay. So what you're trying to find out which is different, okay. So if you don't know how to write, you just follow this structure, okay. Definition, explanation, evidence, and also the difference of your study. Okay, so let us have a quick recap. Okay, so number one, hypothesis is an educated guess, whereby you are trying to propose the relationship. Okay, however, your hypothesis must be supported by underpinning theory and also past empirical studies. Okay, so the third one is that please remember the way you build your proposed relationship, okay, or how the way you write is different from direct relationship, moderator, and also mediator. Okay, if you can follow the structure, doesn't necessarily you must. I mean, this is for those who sometimes you don't know how to start. Okay, so hopefully this DEED approach will help you to at least start on to write your hypothesis, how to structure it. Okay, and if possible, try to add in some to make it interesting. Okay, giving some variety. Okay, for example, based on this discussion, the following hypothesis is developed. Okay, maybe this study hypothesized that, okay, because sometimes when we mark students what call as thesis, we see that they are using the same sentence from hypothesis 1 until hypothesis 10. So try to make it interesting by giving up some more variety. Okay, so it is we usually encourage students to read more papers and see how they write. Okay, different papers, you see the way they write, okay, would be different. So you can actually get an idea, okay, on how to make your write up more interesting. Okay. So, okay, just nice, 1 o'clock. Okay, thank you. Okay, so now I go back, okay, to the yeah, wait, hold on now. Let me go back to the chat. Okay.
A question. Yeah, must there be relationship between IB and the proposed moderator?
IB?
Yeah, if in a study you have IB, TB. If you want to bring a variable as a moderator, must there be relationship between that variable and your IB?
Inconsistent result. Oh, okay. You mean, okay, if you want to bring it, okay, it can be.
I know that
strengthen, weaken from no to become yes, maybe yes.
Okay.
Because no relationship, maybe there is something, okay, that may.
Okay. Because we want to differentiate it with the mediator. For the mediator, there must be relationship between the IB and the proposed mediator, and then the proposed mediator to the DB. But for the moderator, if we take it the same way, then how do we differentiate it?
Why we take it the same way?
Like to have, that is for the moderator to have relationship with IB and have relationship with DB. Then how do we differentiate it from the mediator?
Okay, mediator, as I mentioned, it must have a process. It must have a process. Okay, for moderator, when you read, you find someone says, hey, sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. Okay.
Yeah, inconsistent.
So you believe that when you read, you believe that there is another variable, okay, that may actually what we call as affect the relationship between your IB and DB. So this is how you write.
Okay.
For mediator, you must have, you remember, process.
Yeah.
You must have HR first, then only you can give them training. When you give
Yeah.
them training, then only your organization performance will increase. Increase.
Yeah.
So mediator, moderator, this is how I try to differentiate for my students. One is inconsistent results.
Yeah.
Okay. The other one, mediator, is it is consistent, but nobody see it as a mediator.
Yeah, this is the first condition. The first condition to bring in a moderator, there must be inconsistency in the finding. But
Yes.
when you are picking a variable to serve as the moderator, some people are saying there must be relationship between that variable and your DB, but there mustn't be relationship between the variable and the independent variable. The variable you are proposing as moderator, there shouldn't be relationship between it and the IB. Some people are saying so. I don't know which one is which.
Don't say people. You must actually back by read your articles. Okay. You must actually always fall back to articles.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. So moderator. There are a
Excuse me,
few.
doctor.
Yes.
I need to ask a question.
Oh, sure.
Actually, when you talk about moderator, for instance, there is a moderator in a conceptual framework that I have introduced, and that moderator is going to affect the relationship between the IV or the predictor variable and the mediator, for instance. So there is the link joining the IV and the mediator, and above that link there is a moderator. For instance, I'd like to introduce that moderator. So when I'm going to write down hypothesis, there would be three sets of hypotheses, right? Three hypotheses. One, the relationship between the IV and the moderator. The other one is the moderator's relationship to that mediator. And then the third one as a whole, it would be the moderator as a whole affecting or moderating the relationship between the IV and the mediator. Am I right? It's supposed to be right like that, right? When I'm going to write down hypotheses. So there would be three hypotheses. One explaining the relationship between the IV and the moderator. The other one is the relationship between the mediator and the moderator. And the third one, the moderator affecting the relationship between the IV and the mediator.
Okay, your moderator is between IV and moderator, is it? Mediator, is it?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, so there are a few ways that I would write like this. H1 would be IV to mediator.
Okay.
Okay. H2 would be the moderator actually moderates the relationship between your IV and mediator. Okay. But there are also some papers, right? This one I still have not gone through in depth yet, but maybe you can do a quick search, okay? How people write with moderated mediated hypothesis. I've seen some papers like that.
No, it's about analysis. I understand it. I have analyzed also.
Okay.
But the problem is when you write down hypotheses, three hypotheses. I'm just concerned about hypotheses. When you would like to mention it in your literature review, so you've got to write down the relationship between the moderator and the IV, first hypothesis. The other one is the relationship between the mediator and the moderator. And third, as a whole, the moderator affecting positively or negatively depends, affecting the relationship between the IV and the mediator. Is this approach correct? Because you have to introduce, you have to talk about, based upon the literature and logic, of course,
yes,
the relationships. First of all, you have to clarify the relationships, and then you have to put forward how your hypothesis or how your moderator is going to affect the relationship. Am I true? Am I correct in this regard?
Okay, so let me try to get you. Okay, so how if for me, right, how I'm gonna write is that number one, my hypothesis one would be on IV to mediator.
Okay.
Okay. hypothesis 2 is the relationship between IV, mediator, how the moderator actually moderates the relationship between my IV and mediator. Okay, hypothesis 3 is mediator to PV. Okay, so this is how I'm going to write, and then mediator as itself. Okay,
Moderator is a whole. Moderator. Mediator is fine. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with moderator also because one paper that I have written, it's not published yet, but I have written already. There is a moderator and a mediator that I have introduced.
You have read and you have wrote a paper, or you have
written a paper but not published. I'm just waiting for, I'm trying to send it to some
okay,
easy journals for the newbies like me. But
I mean, you can if you think that your quality of paper is quite good, usually my supervisor they will advise me to aim high first, and then from but also depending on your time, because I know that in order to viva you all need to publish some papers, right?
Yes, doctor.
But my situation is different. We don't have that
pressure. We have
the pressure. So we have the luxury to send to the quality papers and then get.
Yes, you've got a lot of time also. No, actually, I am still concerned. So when I am writing a hypothesis, is it supposed to be as a whole, mentioning some variable as a moderator, affecting the relationship between the IV and the mediator, or how many hypotheses I have to write, or I have to individualize them? For instance, like I mentioned twice, the relationship between the IV and the moderator first hypothesis, the second hypothesis, the relationship between the moderator and the mediator, and the third hypothesis mentioning the moderating impact of that particular construct or variable upon the relationship between the IV and the mediator. Is this a correct approach?
If you intend to test all this, okay, IV to mediator, okay. If you want to include, or if you don't want to include, you can just go straight to moderator. Okay. Not necessarily have to show the steps. It's up to you what you want to test.
But doctor, if I'd like to test them, so I'm allowed, right? According to literature and research, I individualize them. I can do that, right?
If you want, you can come out. If you want to tell, if you want to see the relationship individually, yes, you may do that, and then moderator as itself.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
No worries.
Excuse me, doctor. I got one question. Would it be unusual to have to have a research that has more than one underpinning theory?
No, mine also I have two. Just that because sometimes one underpinning theory is not enough to explain the whole thing. So you need to have 2 or 3 to explain the link, the whole framework that you build. So it's not strange. It's just that you have to. It's not strange.
Doctor.
Yeah.
I got one question.
Thank you.
Doctor, how to describe the control variable?
Sorry. Yep.
How to describe the control variable?
Control. How to describe?
I mean, how to
usually, okay. I remember in one of my studies is that my control, I'm using SMEs. Okay. So size is one of my control variables. So I would, for me, why I do the control is that to show that there is no differences between small and medium industry in terms of their response. If there is significant difference, that means I have to build 2 models. So this is how I understand this is how I use my controllable in my study to show that there is no significant difference between these 2 groups. So hence I can proceed combining them into one model. The response, combine them into one model.
Can you advise about some references for use of control variables?
Pardon?
Can you advise some references for use of control variables?
You want some examples for control variable? References control variable. I don't have it right now, but you can actually one of the tricks that usually I try to find is that SME in Google, right? I will try to write SME controllables emerald insight papers. Click, and then usually with that one of the techniques, if I want to search something quick about control variables, okay, or maybe moderators with graph, and then I type emerald insight and I enter, and then it will come up with all the research paper which has moderators and also graph, and then you can see how they write. Try to go for high quality journals, okay, because the way they write is different, and most of the requirements are already inside. For example, how we differentiate between good papers, good research papers, and not so good research paper is that when we see that is an underpinning theory, they're using underpinning theory to actually to support the research.
Can we get the copy of your presentation? Sorry, can we get the copy of your presentation?
Is it okay I pass to you the references of all the articles instead of the PowerPoints? Because each of my PowerPoints I have the articles, right?
Yes, correct.
I give you the list of the articles. So I pass to Wanyani, okay, the list of articles that I'm using for my presentation. It'll be better. So you can read the whole paper.
And particularly that slide which we are used for describing the mediation in 2 ways. That slide is, that slide.
That one I would like you to read the whole paper also.
Okay.
I would, I think it would be good you read the one by the second one first, then only you read the first one.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, it would be good to have those references.
Very good. Those articles are very, very helpful for students, especially new students, to understand mediation and moderators, because when you have that concept when you have the concept, it's easier for you to write, rather than you write halfway, then only you realize, oh my gosh, it's a moderator. Then you have to rewrite again.
Okay.
Okay. So, okay.
Sure.
I think.
Hello.
Thank you, Doctor, for this workshop. I just have a question. You have just mentioned that there are 2 approaches for mediation. So based on what? Yeah, based on what that we can choose one of these approach. Is there any standards, or just it depends on the researcher itself?
But I think you have to refer to the paper. There's no standard. They just say there's 2 types that you can actually use. So depending on which type you can use, then you use that.
Okay.
Dr. Theresa, can I just interject a little bit?
Yeah, Dr. Fazana. Okay.
Well, actually, I really appreciate the thing you delivered, and you differentiated 2 ways of explaining the mediating effect. It's just that, based on my experience, that I think traditionally, maybe examiners, they will like to see the first approach for thesis. I mean, when we're writing for journal articles, we can be creative and we can be innovative, because editors love all those things. But when it comes to thesis, I do not know, maybe, I different school of thought, but from my experience, what I realized that is better to follow the traditional norm, because we do not know how the examiner perceived the craft. So it's just my suggestion that when you are writing for your dissertation, thesis, better maybe you follow the traditional aspect rather than, going through any new thing that many may not agree. But really, Dr. Theresa, what she discussed and shared, you can follow maybe for, your writing for paper, for publications.
Actually, I would still I would say it depends, like, on the supervisor and the examiner that you get. Maybe yes, Dr. Fazana, on the safe side, maybe Dr. Fazana way, you can consider using Dr. Fazana way, the three steps. Okay, But however, there is also some new research, or as you say, innovative, that we go straight to the mediation. So anyway, it's still up to the supervisor and also the request of examiners. Okay. Yes. Yes. Also, like to highlight something. Last week, I think I found a YouTube video on contribution. Okay. I think it's yes, it's also the guest speaker is Dr. Fazana. I found that it is very, very interesting, okay, and very, very informational. Okay, maybe you all can go, for those who are new, okay, maybe you all can have a look at Dr. Fazana's YouTube video on, I think by Faizan Ali, I think, is it?
Yes, it was invited by Dr. Faizan, but it was not about contribution. It was about research gap, and then
Yes.
Simultaneously some other things are discussed. You are right.
So, Dr. Fazana, do you have the link?
It is actually, yeah, I can give if you give me, a few seconds.
Okay. That one is a really, really good video.
Give me
Okay,
just 30
about
seconds.
Can, sure.
Maybe you can attend other students in a question.
Doctor? Hello?
Yes?
Yeah, I just have another question. When I have a mediation and three IVs, first I have to discuss, based on what you have just delivered, the direct relationship with the DV, and then second, the direct relationship with the mediator, and then I have lastly we'll discuss about the moderator itself in general. In this part, what exactly I have to discuss? Is it I have to repeat again? There is a positive relationship between the variables, or what should be there? The discussion.
You have 3 IVs, 1 mediator, and
DV.
1 DV.
Yes.
Okay. So it depends on what you want to find out. If you want, you can actually IV to mediator as direct, and then mediator as itself. It's up to you. Or if you want to, you can actually look at just mediator itself. It depends on what you want to find out.
Doctor, there's already a posted in chat. Thank you.
Wait. Okay, Dr. Fazana has actually shared a very, very good video on research gap. Gap is very important especially for PhD students. So if you have time, okay, you can actually have a look at this YouTube video. Okay. Okay.
Hello, doctor. Hello. I have a question regarding the control variable. My question is, why do we need control variable in our study? And what is the use of control variable? For example, if I take age as a control variable. And for example, and if I don't have control variable in my study, is it okay or no?
Okay. When I use control variable, I try to show that there is no significant difference in response between the groups, across the groups that I'm trying to find out. For example, small and medium industry. Okay, so size is my control. So I want to show that there is the responses between small and medium is there is no significant difference. So hence, okay, I can combine both of their response together. So okay.
Yes. So it's mean we always need to have control variable in a study.
It'd be good to have, okay. It'll be good. I mean to show, okay, to show that especially if you have different groups.
Yes. For example, like my sample size, like my sample is very heterogeneous. For example, it is a composition of male and female, and it is a composition of professor and lecturers. So do I need to see, is there any difference between male and female?
Male and female. Okay, so if you want, you can try. Okay, but that you need to see whether it is really the differences. Okay, based on literature, does the differences actually would have an effect? You think would have an effect on the different of the responses?
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, it's already 1:22. So I would
Last
okay.
question,
So,
Doc. Okay, do you have any information? I mean, any articles or any sources on how to write half a thesis in which your DV has different dimensions?
Oh, Lorna, you just how to write a DV with different dimensions?
Right.
Oh, actually, there's a few you can actually Google. You try to, yeah, there's a few you can actually, you need to search harder.
Okay.
Okay.
Just Google it, right?
Yeah, Google, and then if you want to be a little, I mean, like DV with job
let's say I'm studying
satisfaction with job satisfaction with 2 dimensions, for example, just type and then you just type at the back Emerald Insight or maybe Sage, okay, and then they will come out with some of the we call as the articles.
Okay, I'll try that. Thank you, Doctor.
Sorry, I need to go because at 3 I have another another session. Okay, so I'll be around. Okay, so any questions you can actually try to post here, then then I'll try to answer. Okay, how do I get back to you? Okay, so so okay, so the articles, right? I would pass it to who? How to? I would the articles. Okay, I will liaise with some. Okay, I'll pass the articles to Ponyani and see, and then they will distribute to you guys lah. Okay.
Okay, sure, Doctor.
So okay, thank you for your patience in this session, and hopefully everything goes well for you all. Okay, your health, your family, and also your research. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.